Dear all, welcome to the class of International Economics, and this is the first video of our course Basics of International Economics. I am Dr. Yazir, Assistant Professor in Department of Economics, Farouk College. I welcome all of you to this course, and I also express my deepest gratitude for joining our group and listening this class. So without much introduction, let me enter to the first class of international economics. So today we want to discuss three important matters related to international economics. Firstly, what is international economics? Its scope and its importance. Thirdly, the subject matter of international economics. What are the areas covered in international economics? Let me start with giving an introduction to international economics. International economics might not be a new subject for most of you, because you might have heard this word international economics, or you might be having some kind of touch with international economics, because this is all the terms which we discuss in this international economics. Normally we read in newspapers or somewhere we normally use these all terms. So what is international economics? What is its scope? You can hardly find a country that does not sell and buy abroad. All the countries will have some kind of economic relationship or trade relationship with other countries. That is sure. And all the countries export and import goods and services. So if they have some specialized goods or quality products, so they will export that goods, and if they need some other goods, they will import that goods also. So this is also a trade relationship. Like this, all the countries will have some kind of economic or trade relationship with other countries. So when this kind of transaction is occurring, this transaction might be in different ways. It can be flow of goods or services or manpower or finances. So this will be the different transactions, different flows of economic transactions. Flow of goods, flow of services, or flow of manpower or finances. So the goods and services flow means the export and import. What is a flow of manpower? Manpower flow means it is a migration, because all the people may not be working in their domestic country. Some of the people might be working abroad. So so all this manpower flow is also in there in the economies, and also the finances, as you might have heard, FDI, FII, or the currency transactions. So there might be some flow of finances also. So these all transactions constitute the international economy. So these are the part of international economy. So now, international economics, is it an old subject or is it a new subject? When it has originated, when it was popularized, do you think that it is very old subject or new subject? Actually, we started teaching international economics we started discussing about the international economics, and it became more popular, especially in post Second World War period. International economics has expanded tremendously, and a lot of publications were produced in the journals. But it doesn't mean that it was developed after after Second World War. It was there because it was a part of even micro, macro, and it was, these all things were included in economics itself. But as a branch, it was developed properly, and it was popularized among the people in the after the Second World War period. Okay, so international economics is also connected with the globalization. How it is connected with the globalization? Is there any connection between international economics and globalization? Okay, let me talk about globalization. Is it a new term or is it a very old term? When you started hearing about globalization, when we are talking in India, we normally think that the globalization started in 1990s, because we started hearing regarding these words, or all these aspects, especially in 1990s, because we started following liberalization, privatization and globalization. It has started from 80s, and it finally reached in 1991 onwards. We completely followed LPG programs. But you should you should not understand that the globalization is a very new term. It is a very old term, and it is the people were started talking about the globalization in 80s itself. And also it is it is there in all period, because when we are talking what is the globalization, considering the globe as a village, right? So this concept this concept was there in the old period, because the globe was as one village. But after that only the boundaries has come in this globe. India has come, Pakistan has come, different countries has come. But before this, globe was only one. But the concept is there, but it may not be called as globalization. But when we started industrialization, especially based on Britain and so many colonies, it was a period of rapid globalization. So there are three periods of rapid globalization, that is from 1870s and up to now. So the first period was 1870 to 1914. It was as a result of industrial revolution. So the second period was 1945 to 80. Why 1945? It was the period of Second World War, after the Second World War. So from the First World War to Second World War, 14 to 45, there were so many chaos in the economy, so many problems in the economy. And also that in 1930s, Great Depression happened. Okay, so there was no that much connection between, or economic transactions between the countries during this period. But again, the rapid globalization period has come in 1945. It was the second period. In this period, the nation started avoiding most of the trade barriers, like tariff and non-tariff barriers. They started avoid it. But we will talk what is tariff and non-tariff barriers. Then after 1980s to present period, it is a third period of rapid globalization. So this is the period which we know that it is a period of globalization, because it was started only during this period in India. So it is a very old period, I mean, it is a very old concept, and also this globalization in its word itself, it is started in from 1970s, or I mean 1870s onwards. Okay, so what is I mean, there are so many positive and negative impacts of globalization. That is a different story. I mean, economics has put forward different debates on globalization. There is a famous book, you might know that, In Defense of Globalization. Have you read that book, or anybody know who wrote that book? It is written by Jagdish and Bhagavati. Okay, and he is a Indian born and American economist, we can say like that, and we also proudly say that he is an Indian economist. So he says that the globalization is not a problem, but it is a solution for so many problems. Okay, so it is a different story. So through the globalization, why we are talking about the globalization? Globalization has a connection with international economics. When the globalization expanded tremendously, or in the era of globalization, the scope of international economics has widened, because the countries started more in economic transactions, more integration between the countries started during this period. That's why I'm saying it is also connected with the globalization. So for more information, you can refer the text of Karpov for this purpose. And also there are a very interesting theory of gravity theory. Gravity theory in physics you might have heard. It is also applicable to the economics. And Jan Timbergen in 1962, he has developed this theory. He says that why the planets are attracted to each other in the proportion to their sizes and proximity. So two are countries. So countries also following the same pattern. They also have some kind of attraction. That's why they are integrated. It is more in the case of big countries. That's why in proportion to their sizes. So if the countries are very big, so there will be more gravity forces between them. That is a theory says. And if their proximity means if the distance is less, they will have more integration, more economic relationship. So this is also the part of globalization. So through all this, when the country started more economic transactions, when this economy became more integrated, the scope of international economics also has increased. Okay. So what is international economics? How we can define international economics? Because it is a very broad subject. It includes everything. So how we can define international economics? International economics is a branch of economic science that studies the causes and the consequences of international economic transactions, the policy measures adopted by the trading countries, and their repercussions for individual and international economy. So this is international economics. So some of the words you should note it. The causes and consequences of international economic transactions, and the policy measures and its repercussions for individual and international economy. What is repercussions? Repercussions means consequences. So this all includes international economics. Okay, so it is not a small subject, because its wide is very bigger in the in so many aspects. So what are the economic transactions means? Economic transactions means it might be in different ways. So there might be export and import. It is an economic transaction. Then international flow of capital is an economic transaction. Then borrowing and lending between the nations. Flow of manpower, as I have said earlier. The people might be migrating from one place to another place for different purpose. This is also flow of manpower, also part of economic transactions. Then the foreign exchange transactions, buying and selling of foreign currencies or investment, all are the part of economic transactions. So the causes and consequences of these transactions, and also its policy measures and consequences, all these includes international economics. Okay. Then it is both a positive and normative sense. Why do you think that it is a positive and normative sense? What is positive sense? What is normative sense? When we are talking about normative sense, you might have heard always it is like what ought to be, right? What should be done, what should be the policy. These all are the part of normative sense. Then what is positive sense? What it is. Okay. So whether international economics is a positive sense or normative sense, it is both. Because there are some concepts, there are some ideas which is the part of positive sense in international economics, and also there are some parts which is the part of there are some parts in which is related to normative economics. Suppose that exchange rate. What is exchange rate? It is a rate at which we will say like that. So it is a part of positive science. But what policy should be adopted by a country? So it is a part of normative science. So international economics, it is we can say that it is a positive sense and also normative sense. Okay. Then what is the importance of international economics? Why international economics got this much scope, or why the scope is very wide? When it is the scope has increased, the scope of international economics was widened, especially as we said after the Second World War. What was the peculiarity of a period of Second World War? It was a period when IMF and World Bank was started. World Bank and IMF started in which year? 1944 or 45? It is in 1944 July in Bretton Woods. Okay, so through the establishment of IMF and World Bank, and also through the establishment of GATT and World Trade Organization. What is GATT? Some of the people might be saying that GATT is General Agreement on Trade and Tariff. It is wrong. GATT is General Agreement on Tariff and Trade. So it was signed in 1947. You should remember the date. But we will be dealing what are the role of these organizations and all these things in the future classes. But just remember the date. So it was signed in 1947. Then it was replaced by World Trade Organizations in 1995. Okay, so through these organizations, the importance of the scope of international economics became it was widened over this period. Then there are dynamics of international economic mechanism. So how it works and how the policy of one country will be affecting another country, because there are different policies for different nations. So how the policy of one country will affect others. So these all became the important questions to be answered. Okay, then there are different conflicting interests between the countries. So if one country is following some policies, it may not be suitable for other country. So these problems should be negotiated to ensure the continuous and equitable growth of the world economy. So the scope of international economics again has increased. And also there are some other problems which should be solved. like unfair and inequitable distribution of gain from international trade, especially between developed and underdeveloped countries. So the gain from trade is not equally distributed among the countries. Some of the less developed nations are not much benefited through the trade. So there is a debate also in this aspect that also we will be covering in the future. So when this inequitable distribution and unfair gain became the practice, the scope of international economics increased. Okay, then there are some other problems like economic imbalance, as we said, then financial crisis, then rising economic conflicts between the trading partners, as we said earlier, then more of trade barriers, tariff and non-tariff barriers, and hidden subsidies and dumping became the hot topic and dispute, the cause of dispute between the countries. Then finally the countries started more regionalism, or they started more regional blocks. What is regional blocks? Like European Union or NAFTA or any other union. The countries started more organizations. By taking some of the members, they started new organization and they promoted the trade and trade and other activities among the members, not with other countries. So this also good in one sense, but it is also might be harmful for some other countries. So these are the issues. These are the questions which should be solved. So by solving these issues, the scope of international economics has increased or widened, we can say. Then finally, we are going to discuss what is the scope of what is the subject matter of international economics? What are the different aspects to be discussed in international economics? Firstly, let me tell you there are two branches for international economics: international trade and international finance. This might be two subjects when you are going to MA or if you are going for any advanced studies, but for UG, this part of international trade and international finance is included, and it is given only one paper like international economics. So when we are coming to the part of international trade, firstly there are different theories or principles of international trade, why the trade is happening. All the trade theories says the trade is beneficial for different countries, or trade is the countries can get gain through the trade. There is no doubt about it. There are different principles and theories like mercantilism. It is not a theory, but it is a policy. Then after that, classicals, then Hexter-Arlen theory, modern theory, and also in between neoclassical theories. And also there are some new development in the trade theories like Paul Krugman, others, intra-industry trade, inter-industry trade. This is the part of advanced international economics. So we will be covering the basic theories of international trade. So this is the part of international economics. Then if the trade is good for all the countries, then why there is some hindrances, why there is some barriers for trade like tariff barriers and non-tariff barriers? It is a part of international trade policy or commercial policy, we can say. Most of the countries are adopting some kind of commercial policy. It might be tariff or non-tariff barriers. So what is its implication? Why they are going for the tariff or non-tariff barriers? Why they are not promoting free trade? So it is also a big question. And also there is a chance that some of the countries are creating regional blocks and promoting the free trade in between them, because they know that there are positive sides of free trade, so they are creating some regional blocks. It is also part of international economics. So these concepts are related. This is the main part of international trade. Most of them, there are some organizations, trade organizations like WTO, as we say. So these are the part of international trade. Then when we are coming to the international finance, firstly, exchange rate. What is exchange rate? You know that if one country wants to exchange some goods with other country, or export or import, then the issue is that the currency is different. We have Indian rupee, but the US has dollar. So how we will export and how we will import? So there should be some standard or medium of exchange, which our currency can be equated with the other currency. That is the exchange rate. What is the exchange rate of Indian rupee today with the dollar? Today it is 73.19 rupees. $1 is equal to 73.19 rupees. So it might change when you are hearing this video. So this exchange rate should be there for making transactions. Okay, then there are some theories related with the exchange rate. How this exchange rate is determined? Why there is a depreciation? Why there is an appreciation? You might have read in the newspaper the currency rupee is depreciating. Then you should think why there is a depreciation in the currency. What are the theories taught? What are the theories says about say about this changes in the exchange rate? And there is a devaluation, revaluation. All these are the part of international economics. So when there are economic relationship with the two countries, the first an important and point to be noted, how the exchange rate and what is the rate of exchange. Okay, then if the countries have some kind of connections, they are exporting and importing. Since sometime the export might be more and sometime import might be less, so this can happen. So there might be trade surplus or trade deficit. So the balance of payment surplus deficit. So how if there is a problem? So this is a part of balance of payment problems. So this is also the part of international economics. Then if there is a problem, how it will be solved? If there is a balance of payment problem, how it will be solved? It can be solved through the open macroeconomic policies, not through the traditional closed macroeconomic policies. So the open macroeconomics is also the part of international economics. ISLMBP curve. So this might be the part of advanced international economics course. So we will be dealing it in the future. Okay, then lastly, if the economies are in touch, or if they have more economic transactions, there is a chance of disputes also. There might be chance of balance of payment problems. So who solve these problems? Who will settle these disputes? So there should be some organizations. So IMF and also the World Trade Organizations and other organizations are controlling these transactions and making suggestions for the different countries, and they are providing the loans for different countries. So their international monetary system, and also how the IMF works and what is their currency. So these all are the major part of international economics. There might be some subsidiary part which can be added to this, but these are the major part of international economics. So broadly we can say that we will have two classification: international trade and international finance, and so many aspects related with this also there are the subject matters of international economics. So in the next video we will be covering the first part, international trade. So why this trade is important, and what is the difference between internal and international trade, and also later we will be going to the international trade theories. Okay, so these all are the subject matter of international economics which we will be covering. Then for this reference of this for this lecture, you can follow Divedi's text is good for you. Then Rana and Verma, which is Indian authors. Then Karbog, which is a foreign author, it is also very good book for you. You can refer, mainly if you want to refer one book, you can take Dwivedi for this purpose. Thank you all. Thank you for listening me. We will see in the next video. Thank you very much.